everyone. My name's Sydnie Christmas.
Is it?
Sydnie
That's an unbelievable name. I love that.
It's terrible, isn't it?
It was the performance that stopped the nation and the one moment that would change everything. When Sydnie Christmas walked onto the Britain's Got Talent stage with nothing but a nervous smile and a dream, few could have predicted what was about to happen. In under 3 minutes, the unassuming receptionist from London unleashed a rendition of Tomorrow that left judges stunned long before Sydnie Christmas dazzled a nation with her powerhouse vocals. She was folding towels, answering phones, and quietly fading into the background of a bustling London gym. Few of the clients who passed her at the reception desk knew the truth, that the woman behind the counter had a voice strong enough to shake an auditorium. Sydnie's path to stardom wasn't lined with red carpets or industry connections. Instead, it was built on small stages, unpaid gigs, and a relentless belief that someday, somehow, she'd be heard. Her musical roots trace back to local theatre productions and open mic nights, with brief glimpses of promise that never quite materialised into mainstream success. She had previously appeared in touring productions, including a role in Grease Overseas, but even that couldn't open enough doors to make performing a sustainable career. At one point, she joined a short-lived E4 reality series called Stage School, hoping it would provide a platform. But instead, it faded without fanfare, leaving her back at square one. Industry gatekeepers seemed uninterested in someone who didn't fit the mould, and Sydnie, authentic, unpolished and determined, kept slipping through the cracks. Yet through it all, she never stopped singing. She trained after hours, rehearsed during lunch breaks, and poured her heart into every note she sang, even if the audience was just a mirror in a cramped flat. The stage may have eluded her, but the dream never did. And by the time she stepped onto the BGT stage, nerves masked years of rejection, and the performance that followed was a lifetime in the making. But Sydnie wasn't just about to sing, she was about to erupt. And in the next few minutes, the world would finally listen. The moment Sydnie Christmas opened her mouth to sing Tomorrow from Annie, the Britain's Got Talent stage transformed from a talent show platform into a global spotlight. Her voice, a perfect fusion of raw emotion and technical mastery, cut through the silence like a siren of heartbreak and hope. Judges, who had witnessed thousands of auditions, visibly froze, and within seconds, disbelief turned to awe. Amanda Holden, overwhelmed and visibly emotional, reached for the golden buzzer with no hesitation, triggering a downpour of gold confetti and setting off the viral chain reaction that would change Sydnie's life forever. What happened next was nothing short of a cultural flashpoint. Within 24 hours, clips of her audition racked up millions of views online. Social media flooded with praise, disbelief, and admiration. Headlines called her the best voice of the season, and celebrities began reposting the video, adding their own tributes. But what made this moment so seismic wasn't just the performance, it was what Sydnie represented. She wasn't moulded, styled, or media trained. She was real, vulnerable, and refreshingly human. Her lack of pretension made her instantly relatable. Viewers didn't just hear a song, they saw a woman who had been overlooked for too long finally being seen. Comment sections turned into love letters, fan pages sprang up overnight, and interviews followed at a pace Sydnie had never experienced. She went from gym receptionist to national sensation in a matter of hours. But beneath the gold confetti and the standing ovation lay a hidden pressure. This was no longer a private dream. The world was watching, and it would have expectations. Because as dazzling as her breakthrough was, it came with a shadow, The applause was deafening, but could she live up to the impossible hype it created? The answer, as we'll see, would take unexpected turns. When Sydnie Christmas was crowned the winner of Britain's Got Talent Season 17 in June 2024, it was the culmination of a whirlwind journey that had taken her from anonymity to adoration in a matter of weeks. Her final performance, a soul-stirring rendition of Over the Rainbow, was met with roaring applause and praise from judges and fans alike. She didn't just sing, she delivered a moment of pure catharsis, standing under the spotlight as living proof that raw talent could still triumph in a manufactured world. The £250,000 prize and a headlining slot at the Royal Variety Performance should have sealed her place in the upper echelon of British entertainment. But almost as quickly as she ascended, cracks began to show in the public narrative. A vocal minority on social media questioned whether Sydnie's background in musical theatre gave her an unfair edge over true amateurs. Critics dredged up her past training, her role in overseas productions, and even her appearance years earlier on E4's stage school to suggest she wasn't as underdog as she seemed. The celebration was tainted by whispers of manipulation, her favouritism, and a rigged outcome. Though there was no formal controversy or show rule violation, the damage was done. The authenticity that had won Sydnie millions of hearts now became a point of debate. Some online trolls accused the show of planting her, claiming her powerful story arc was crafted to generate ratings. Others lamented that the win took opportunities from contestants with less professional background. Sydnie, for her part, remained poised, using press interviews to reaffirm that BGT had given her a shot she'd spent years fighting for, one that countless auditions and rejections had denied her. Yet the seed of doubt had been planted. In the unforgiving court of public opinion, her victory came not just with a trophy, but with scrutiny she couldn't have imagined. And just when the confetti should have settled, real life delivered a curveball that would stun even her most loyal supporters. Just weeks after winning the biggest talent competition in the UK, Sydnie Christmas faced a headline she never expected. She had been dismissed from her day job at the gym where she'd worked as a receptionist. It was a jarring twist in what should have been a celebration-filled chapter of her life. After all, Sydnie had just captured the hearts of millions, earned a life-changing prize, and performed on national television to critical acclaim. Yet behind the scenes, reality didn't wait for the fairy tale to settle. The termination, confirmed by the gym's management, was vague in reasoning, but rumours quickly spread like wildfire. Some speculated that the gym simply couldn't handle the influx of attention brought on by Sydnie's fame, fans stopping by for selfies, media requests, and a disruption to the quiet front desk routine. Others whispered that the company wanted to avoid becoming part of a public circus, not equipped to manage an employee who had suddenly become a celebrity. The lack of a clear explanation only fueled public intrigue and media scrutiny. For Sydnie, the incident was more than just the loss of a paycheck. It was a stark reminder that fame does not come with stability. Unlike celebrities with agents, legal teams, and PR buffers, Sydnie was still adjusting to her new reality, navigating her public image largely on her own. The incident also exposed the uncomfortable truth about how quickly society turns on those it lifts up. One moment, she was the nation's sweetheart. The next, she was an unemployed reality show winner with no immediate plan. While she didn't publicly criticise the gym, her silence on the matter spoke volumes. Supporters online rallied to her defence, calling the firing unfair, classist, and a slap in the face after everything she had achieved. But even amid the fallout, Sydnie chose not to wallow. Instead, she began recalibrating her next move, determined to prove that she wasn't a fleeting starlet, but an artist with staying power, and soon she would deliver a powerful answer to those who doubted her. With the buzz of her Britain's Got Talent win still echoing across headlines and social media, Sydnie Christmas did something most reality show winners hesitate to do. She took matters into her own hands. In late 2024, she released her debut album, My Way, not through a major label with flashy contracts and rigid creative control, but independently, on her own terms. For Sydnie, the project wasn't just a musical milestone, it was a declaration of agency in an industry that had once overlooked her. The title track, Frank Sinatra's iconic My Way, wasn't chosen by accident. It had become synonymous with her journey. And by naming the album after it, she was sending a clear message: this career would be hers to steer. The album itself was a lush blend of theatrical ballads, classic standards, and powerhouse covers, including songs like Somewhere Over the Rainbow, I Didn't Know My Own Strength, and As If We Never Said Goodbye. But what made it resonate wasn't just the repertoire. It was Sydnie's unmistakable interpretation. Every lyric felt lived in, every note heavy with meaning. Critics noted that she didn't just sing the songs, she embodied them. Comparisons to Barbra Streisand and Shirley Bassey weren't thrown lightly. Sydnie's vocal dynamism, emotional clarity, and stage presence had begun to transcend her reality show roots. Fan reception was equally passionate. Her base, already fiercely loyal from her BGT journey, rallied behind the release, turning it into a grassroots success. Independent music stores reported a surge in orders, and digital downloads climbed steadily, defying expectations for a post-talent show debut. Sydnie leaned into the momentum, performing at charity galas, guesting on radio segments, and sharing intimate behind-the-scenes moments on social media, where she remained refreshingly accessible. In a world where reality show winners often fade fast, her album became proof that she had staying power. But even as her music career blossomed, Sydnie wasn't ready to abandon the stage that raised her, and the next move she made, though unexpected, would reconnect her to her first love in a very theatrical way. Just as industry observers were beginning to box her in as a recording artist, Sydnie Christmas made a bold, almost nostalgic return to the live stage. But not in the glitzy West End or an international tour. Instead, she stepped into the whimsical world of British panto, taking on the role of Fairy Christmas in Sleeping Beauty at the Orchard West in Dartford during the 2024 holiday season. To some, it seemed like an odd detour. After all, pantomime is often seen as seasonal entertainment, family-friendly, over-the-top, and rarely the launching pad for global careers. But for Sydnie, this wasn't just another gig, it was a return to her roots, to the kind of theatre where she first fell in love with performance. Her appearance was nothing short of electric. Audiences packed into the venue night after night, not just to laugh at the campy humour, but to hear Sydnie's soaring vocals and witness her radiant stage presence up close. Reviews from local press and national theatre blogs noted that she didn't just play her role, she stole the show. Her comedic timing, connection with children in the audience, and effortless command of the stage reignited discussions about her theatrical potential. Suddenly, rumours began to swirl within industry circles. Whispers of Sydnie joining long-running West End staples like Les Miserables or Phantom of the Opera surfaced. Some even speculated that new productions were being written with her vocal range and emotional depth in mind. Casting directors quietly acknowledged that she had the kind of talent they usually scout for years to find. A rare combination of power, control, and sincerity. What's more, her panto run wasn't just about the spotlight. It was about Sydney reclaiming space in an industry that once told her she didn't fit the mould. By returning to theatre, not for prestige but for passion, she reminded everyone why she captured hearts in the first place. And with the stage under her feet and speculation growing louder, the next step in her journey was already being sketched in shadows. While Sydnie Christmas continued to dazzle fans on stage and online, there was another, quieter battle unfolding behind the scenes, one that had nothing to do with music and everything to do with mental survival. The sudden shift from anonymity to fame came with dizzying highs, but also invisible pressures. For someone who had spent years out of the spotlight, navigating overnight celebrity meant learning how to protect her peace in an environment that rarely offers it. In interviews throughout 2025, Sydnie began opening up about the mental health toll of her rapid rise, revealing that amid the glitz and celebration, she had quietly sought therapy. I needed to learn how to hold on to myself while everyone else was trying to shape who I should be, she admitted during a daytime TV appearance. And instead of diving headfirst into endless projects, brand deals, or non-stop performances, Sydnie did something very few new stars do. She slowed down. She returned to her studies and completed her Level 3 personal training qualification, a goal she had started long before BGT changed her trajectory. For Sydnie, this wasn't just about fallback plans. It was about grounding herself, building a version of her future that didn't depend solely on applause. The choice sent a strong message to her fans and to the industry alike. Sydnie wasn't chasing a fast-burn career. She was laying a long-term foundation. She also became vocal about self-care, regularly sharing mental health resources, journaling routines, and candid reflections with her followers, transforming her social media from a promotional tool into a safe space. Her transparency resonated deeply with young fans navigating their own anxieties, and her fan base matured along with her. Behind the scenes, she built a tight circle of trusted collaborators, managers, vocal coaches, and longtime friends who weren't afraid to say no when the world kept saying yes. And it's this decision to choose balance over burnout that may become her most powerful act of self-preservation yet. Because while talent got her noticed, it's Sydnie's clarity of purpose that will carry her through the noise. And even as her spotlight grew brighter, so did the importance of drawing clear boundaries between the public Sydnie and the person behind the voice. As her voice captivated millions and her career gained momentum, Sydnie Christmas also found herself navigating a very different kind of spotlight, the one reserved for personal affairs, tabloid whispers, and public curiosity about who she was when the mic was off. In early 2025, Sydnie confirmed in an understated interview that she was in a relationship with Italian model and fellow singer Max Rizzo, a charismatic creative with a growing international presence of his own. The two had reportedly met through mutual friends in the performing arts world and bonded over their shared love of music and an understanding of the pressures that come with a life on stage. Paparazzi photos soon followed, capturing the couple attending events hand in hand, sharing quiet moments at West End premieres, and exchanging affectionate glances during charity galas. Fans, who had already invested emotionally in Sydnie's story, welcomed the news warmly, dubbing the couple a perfect harmony and flooding social media with support. But the increased attention also brought a new challenge. How much of her private life should Sydnie allow the world to see? Unlike many young stars who lean into relationship publicity for engagement spikes, Sydnie held back. She kept personal posts rare and deliberately vague, resisting the urge to turn her romance into a media narrative. "I share my voice with the world," she said in a short press quote, "but some things belong only to me." Still, public interest didn't wane. Fans speculated about potential duets, engagement rumours surfaced after a ring was spotted on her finger during a performance, and fashion blogs began tracking their couple style. But Sydnie never lost control of the story. She maintained boundaries, declined to address gossip, and used interviews to redirect focus back to her music and mental health work. In one candid moment, she did admit to dreaming of starting a family someday, a modest home, children, and stability far away from cameras. It was a refreshing admission in an industry that often prioritizes persona over person, and as she gracefully danced between public affection and private protection, Sydnie proved that fame doesn't have to cost you your humanity. She was charting her own course, not just in her career, but in how she chose to love, live, and remain whole under a microscope. After winning Britain's Got Talent and releasing her successful debut album My Way, many expected Sydnie Christmas to stick with what had worked: classic covers, familiar ballads, and the polished theatrical flair that had earned her comparisons to icons like Barbra Streisand. But Sydnie had other plans that would take her far beyond the comfort zone of talent show nostalgia. As of mid-2025, she's deep into the creation of her sophomore album, and this time, she's not just lending her voice, she's shaping the entire sound. The project, still untitled publicly, is rumoured to include entirely original material, much of it written specifically for her vocal range, emotional register, and lived experience. Insiders close to the studio sessions describe the sound as bold and unexpected, blending elements of soul, big band, and modern pop, with flourishes of cinematic orchestration. One producer described the sessions as vintage meets vulnerability, a direction that reflects Sydnie's refusal to be boxed in by industry expectations. Gone are the musical theatre covers that first defined her. In their place are songs that tell her own story about loss, growth, defiance, and identity. Sydnie has taken a hands-on role in selecting the writers, the instruments, and even the marketing strategy. "I want this to feel like me in every note," she reportedly told her team, and she means it. Several high-profile collaborators have quietly signed on, drawn not only to her voice, but to her vision. At the same time, discussions are underway for a television special or mini-documentary that would trace her post-BGT evolution, a rare behind-the-scenes look at what it really takes to build a career from sudden fame. The project would chronicle not just the music, but the mindset, the missteps, and the moments of breakthrough that fans never see. Industry buzz suggests that platforms like BBC and ITV are already expressing interest, seeing Sydnie as a rare crossover talent with genuine multi-generational appeal. But with all this potential comes risk. Original music means vulnerability. It means critics will no longer compare her to the greats. They'll compare her to herself. And yet, that's exactly the challenge she seems to crave. Because for Sydnie Christmas, this next chapter isn't just about proving she can sing, it's about proving she can lead. And with every studio session, she's composing something much bigger than an album. She's composing her legacy. Despite her growing discography, theatre acclaim, and loyal fan base, Sydnie Christmas's journey remains a story marked not just by triumphs, but by questions still unanswered. Though her rise to fame was meteoric, there remains an undercurrent of controversy that shadows her win. Even now, a faction of viewers continues to question the fairness of her Britain's Got Talent victory, pointing to her prior training and theatre experience as grounds for disqualification in the eyes of a show built on amateur dreams. Though no rules were broken and the producers stood firmly behind her eligibility, the backlash exposed a deeper debate in modern entertainment. Where do we draw the line between professional and undiscovered? And why do we penalise preparedness in a competition that claims to reward talent? Sydnie herself has addressed this delicately, stating that talent should never be disqualified by experience alone. And for many, her raw vulnerability proved she wasn't riding in on a privilege, but perseverance. Still, the narrative persists, and in some circles, it colours perceptions of her every move. Meanwhile, other questions linger. Can Sydnie break through the West End's notoriously tight casting circles, where gatekeeping and politics often matter more than public adoration? Will her pivot into original music alienate the theatre fans who fell in love with her ballads? And most importantly, can she sustain a career built on authenticity in an industry that often rewards artifice? The pressure is immense, and the road ahead remains unpredictable. Fame, as many before her have learned, is a currency that devalues quickly without reinvention. Yet if Sydnie's journey so far has proven anything, it's that she's never been content to be what others expect. She was never the standard pop star nor the cookie-cutter theatre darling. She was the woman who risked ridicule by auditioning with an old musical number and turned it into a national moment. The woman who faced online vitriol, job loss and doubts and turned them into fuel. And now, standing at the edge of another evolution, Sydnie Christmas is staring down the industry that once overlooked her and daring it to doubt her again. Because this story isn't over. If anything, it's only just beginning. Sydnie Christmas didn't just win a talent show, she rewrote the script for what happens after the confetti falls. From the gym front desk to the Royal Variety stage, from viral sensation to independent artist, her story has defied expectations at every turn. But perhaps the most compelling part isn't her voice, it's her refusal to be boxed in. She's battled scrutiny, heartbreak, and industry skepticism with quiet resilience and unshakable vision. And now, as she steps into a new chapter filled with original music, bolder risks, and even deeper personal truths, one thing is clear. Sydnie isn't just chasing a spotlight, she's carving out her own path entirely. The question now isn't whether she deserved her moment on BGT, it's what she'll do with the legacy she's building next. So, what do you think? Can authenticity still thrive in today's entertainment machine? Will Sydnie's second act surpass even her first? Let us know in the comments. And if you've followed her journey this far, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next turning point in a career that's only getting started. Because if Sydnie Christmas has shown us anything, it's that the spotlight doesn't define you. What you do after it fades does.